Hi folks, I'm Marcel and you're watching The Pulse. It's been a very busy last 2 weeks. As many of you know, the FDA sent out a warning letter listing NMN as excluded from the definition of dietary supplement. Some companies and some video channels came out and announced this as the FDA banning NMN. However, I've kind of pumped the brakes a bit and taken the stance of, wait a minute, is this really a ban? Are they really talking about this specific ingredient, meaning that we have to ban all ingredients of NMN? So kind of been asking questions, and those questions are still largely unanswered. I'm kind of going to go down the list one after another and address some of the common comments that I got. One was very defensive positioning comments of David Sinclair. And I sort of asked the question, is he trying to own NMN? Because based on what I was seeing, he's a co-founder of a company, Metro Biotech, or Metro International Biotech, MIB. And he also was behind, he even stated we submitted paperwork. He said this earlier this year. He said we submitted paperwork to ask the FDA to regulate NMN. I remember raising an eyebrow when he said that, and now we're seeing that the actual letter that was written by Metro Biotech to the FDA almost a year ago. And they wrote that letter in response to the decision that the FDA made banning NAC as a supplement at the time, which they since essentially rescinded through a policy of enforcement discretion, which we're going to talk more about as well. So is he behind it? I mean, I'm sorry. In this case, the facts show that he is part of a team trying to harness control of NMN. Now, did it spiral out of control? Did it go further than he intended? We don't know because he's remained radio silent on the topic, and it's been almost 2 weeks. So it'd be nice to hear him state a position. He could be lobbying behind the scenes to soften up the FDA's approach to all this, or we don't know. Is he taking a firmer stand and doubling down? We just don't know yet. But I want to make one thing very clear to my viewers and to everybody out there. I'm a huge fan of David Sinclair. I remain a huge fan of David Sinclair, his lab, the discoveries that they've made, and his colleagues. I subscribe to pretty much his whole protocol. I intermittent fast. I eat healthier. I've reduced sugar almost down to nothing. I've reduced my alcohol intake. I'm taking the supplements that he's talked about. I'm practicing cold weather therapy, cold shower therapy. I'm doing everything pretty much that he spells out except for one thing. And that is I don't take metformin. And the reason I don't take metformin is because it's a pharmaceutical. Now, I've considered berberine, but so far I've resisted or I'm waiting for a bit more information. But I might take that. But I'm not taking metformin because I don't want to pursue taking a pharmaceutical. That's my stand. And a lot of people have that stand. A lot of people live that reality. They don't want to take a pharmaceutical. So even if you make NMN a pharmaceutical, there's going to be people that, even though it helped them, they're just not going to want to go that far. And that's a shame in all of this, that we can't find some compromise solution that appeases the public interest. And there's a large component of the public, especially here, our viewership here, that would rather choose what they put in their body and not be limited, to one formula or one package or one company. There's a lot of people it just doesn't sit well, especially on the heels of the pandemic and being told and mandated that we had to take pharmaceuticals in our bodies. Now you're telling us what we can't take. And it just doesn't sit well with myself and a lot of my viewers. I know that. Now, NMN is still available. It's still for sale. I ordered enough that if I reduce my intake to 1 gram a day, that's the DoNotAge stuff. I just got that in. I'm really relieved to have what it would be with both of these containers. It's about a year's supply for me. If I come down from 1.5 to 1 gram. I haven't quite done that yet, but I'm alternating days, so I'm easing my way back. I have about a 2-3 month supply in addition to those 2 left from my previous container. So I'm breathing a little easier. Yeah, I had a little panic buying situation myself. Others have had that as well. Matter of fact, NMN sales are up 3 times their usual levels, I'm hearing from multiple sources. I want to thank all of the CEOs and founders and co-founders of different companies. I've heard from about 6. I've heard from 6 so far. Not all of them are even NMN companies, but they're all supplement companies and natural products companies. And they've all, in one way or another, voiced support for what we're talking about here. They've offered more information, more assistance, volunteered information. I hope that continues. I love seeing it. So does the FDA have authority? So this is getting back to the comments. Do they have the authority to ban a natural ingredient? A lot of people push back on that. I pushed back on that. I questioned that. I think the public in general is going to continue to push back on that. However, I think a lot of the problem lies in what Wikipedia and the general public views as the definition of a dietary supplement. I think the most commonly agreed upon definition is, does it exist in our food supply already, or in our bodies, or both? So are we consuming something that we're taking in already in foods? In the case of NMN, it exists in foods like cucumbers and avocados and many foods. And it's a natural precursor in our bodies to NAD, which is we're taking NMN to boost our NAD levels, as you guys know. The FDA definition of drug versus supplement is something different. The FDA views a dietary supplement as a natural ingredient that exists in the food supply, unless it can be used to treat a disease. Once an ingredient can be used to treat a disease, and the drug companies can prove that it treats a disease, then it becomes a drug. That's their definition. That's the differentiator for the FDA. So the FDA is just, and these are guidelines set forth by Congress. So the FDA is just following the rules, the guidelines that they have to follow. And MIB, Metro Biotech, David Sinclair, by association, they're just following the rules of submitting the paperwork. So it can frustrate us, it can anger us, but they're all just playing the game. I've asked many companies what winning looks like, and I want to talk about winning versus losing, but they're on a winning side right now. They have the side of the law in their corner, and we need to understand that. Now, another thing that's come up is, well, I'm in Europe, or I'm in Asia, or I'm in this country or that country. And so the FDA doesn't have oversight over your country, and that's technically true. However, since the pandemic, there's been a policy, for one, between the FDA and the EMA, which is the European Medicines Agency, and they are pursuing what they're calling global alignment of their policies. So what this will mean in the case of a drug versus supplement is if the FDA is recognizing it as a drug and the EMA says no, we see it as a supplement. Well, FDA say, well, the next submission you have for a drug, we might not consider it either. I'm not saying it would go tit for tat, but that's what they're trying to avoid. They're working together to create a global alignment of their policies. Now, there's a couple indicators or abbreviations that you need to also be aware of that we've been hearing come up in the supplement-oriented news realm. One is IND. An IND is an investigational new drug. So Microbiotech submitted an IND to the FDA. An NDI is a new dietary ingredient notification. So you got IND and NDI. How they break the tie between the IND and the NDI, well, the first bar that you have to reach is, can it treat a disease? And that has to be proven through clinical trials. However, if you submitted an NDI that predates that IND, in other words, the supplement was submitted, the paperwork was submitted for approval before the IND date, you could still sell the supplement. There's one hugely important key factor that we need to determine, and that is what date is the FDA going to apply to this microbiotech IND? We're waiting to hear this. They don't release such dates, which has caused even further confusion in this case. And then there's a huge question. Are they going to predate that? In other words, did Microbiotech submit it a year and a half ago, but they're going to roll that back 3 or 4 years because the research was going on already for that drug certification or that new drug submission before they even formed the company? This is in play. This is my question. I'm not saying it's true, but this is in play. So you could see how this gets very confusing, and we need to watch these dates, and we need to hold the FDA accountable for this. Congressional oversight or no oversight, if they backdate something, we need a really good explanation why, other than, well, we're just siding with the pharmaceutical company. Now, there are winners and losers in this fight, and I'm going to give you the lay of the land as I see it right now. I think the winners include NMN because the sales are up 3 times the volume, and I think the prevailing opinion is that we're going to get the status quo for the foreseeable future. In other words, NMN's not going anywhere. It's still going to be for sale by the usual places. The supplement industry is right now winning because they're on the side of public opinion for the most part. Public interest is going to back the supplement industry right now on the heels of a pandemic over Big Pharma. So you've got a sea change in support, and I think it's going to be more vocal than we saw when these guidelines were set out pre-pandemic. So the supplement industry stands to gain. Right now, they look like a winner. And the public. It's in the public interest to have options, to have choice, to have competition. And let's face it, many supplement companies have done a very good job with NMN. They're on their 2nd generation. Matter of fact, that's why it's being compared to MIB 626, because they've crystallized it, they've stabilized it, they've lengthened the shelf life and the reliability of the NMN as a product. So that's made it more similar to MIB 626, so they're kind of a victim of their own success. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I think the supplement industry is a big winner is that there wouldn't be a fight if NMN wasn't effective. Like if you couldn't treat some disease with it, they wouldn't even be able to support their submission, their paperwork submission, their filing. They couldn't support it because you're going to have to prove that it can be used to treat a disease. And I don't think they'd be going this far out on a limb, and I don't think the FDA would be going this far out on a limb to send out these warning letters if there wasn't a feeling that NMN is effective at treating or preventing disease. Now, the losers, this is as it stands right now, I think are Microbiotech and by association, David Sinclair, at the moment. As I said, I support David, and I hope that he flips on this. I hope that he comes out and softens his stance. So I'm supportive of David. I believe in David. But in this battle, I think he's coming up on the losing end. I think NR is a loser in this. Even though Chromadex got out there, and maybe partly because they got out there and celebrated and spiked the football and really made a press release and, had Dr. Brad out there beating the drum, FDA bans NMN prematurely because, as it turns out, it's still available. So nobody's talking about NR right now. They're all talking, and not in a good context. We can get more into that in another day. But all of the energy and discussion is about NMN, and people are researching it. And guess what? NMN's the kind of thing that when you hear about it and you start researching it, the chances go way up that you're going to give it a shot. You're going to give it a try. Because once you see David Sinclair and his arguments, and let's talk about the good David now, right? Once you hear his arguments, why not give it a shot? It's safe, it's natural, seems to work. Loads of people are reporting success taking it. So I think NMN is a big winner and NR currently is a loser. I think FDA and Congress are on the losing side of this battle right now. And they need to address this. And I think the drug industry is right now a loser just in general. In the court of public opinion, we're not here. I don't think drug companies are very popular right now. I think I saw the number being at 38% of approval in the U.S., that have a positive feeling towards drug companies. So it's pretty darn low. And that took a big dive. I think it was around 60% or higher pre-pandemic. So it has more to do with that than this, but it's not helping. You have to understand that they're making these decisions, right, in the context of a post-pandemic reality. So would NAC receive this exception, this enforcement discretion? Would CBD have won their battle? Will NMN have won once NMN wins? I think they will win. I think there will be an enforcement discretion applied to NMN. I believe that. I believe we're going to be stuck in the status quo for a while. Not sure if that's winning, but I think that's where we're going to be. But would that have all happened if it were not for what many view as overreach and over-control of government by Big Pharma over the past few years? It's questionable because they had all the wind at their back going into this, and out the other side, I have them on the loser bracket. Now, these brackets could flip around completely if the FDA takes action and they start ripping NMN off the shelves and sending out more letters and start fining companies, and that could happen. And then all of these winners become losers, including the public, by the way. And all the losers then are the winners, at least while this is fought out, because then I really think the public's going to speak up, and a new Congress coming into power is going to have something to say about it. By the way, there is something to watch going on right now, which is they're trying to create, in this session of Congress, there are a couple major, one is Pew Research, there are a couple major lobbyist groups pushing for a database of dietary supplements, which, by the way, on its face, I would support. And I think some oversight would be supported by at least all the supplement companies that I'm in contact with. I have another proposal, and I want to get to that in 1 second, but I have a proposed solution that involves all of these parties, and including David Sinclair, and they can all claim victory. So I'll get to that in 1 second. But first of all, I want to say that the reason I don't consider status quo, enforcement discretion as a win is because we're just going to see a ripple effect. David Sinclair has also co-founded another company called Spermidine Life. He's on the science board of it. I'm pretty sure he's a co-founder, but he's definitely deeply involved with Spermidine Life. And he's been talking up Spermidine the last couple of years. He's been talking up other supplements, Fizetin, Fizetin. He's been talking up quercetin. If they win with NMN, this is going to have a ripple effect. Either way, if they win, if they lose, it's going to have a ripple effect. We're going to see almost certainly more ingredients come up on the FDA's radar, probably from submissions from drug companies, more INDs, more proof that these things can treat disease or illness, and, they're going to send out more letters and maybe more bans. So there's a ripple effect. I have another solution, like I said, and I suggest that we come up with a new ingredient classification called natural medicine. Now, natural medicine exists in schools across the country. It exists in clinics. It exists in hospitals. It is a bit of a gray area at times, but there are actual physicians practicing a natural medicine approach. And I believe something like a natural ingredient should have oversight, but it should have its own tag. And that could be as a natural medicine. And in the case of a natural medicine, everyone could sell it. You could buy it at a health food store. You could buy it at a pharmacy. There could be a pharmaceutical grade natural medicine that maybe needs doctor supervision because it's so strong that the side effects increase over a certain dosage. So everybody can play their role. The public wins. The FDA gets to breathe a sigh of relief. They've come up with a solution that works. NMN seems like a natural medicine. It's beyond supplement because it's shown efficacy. It's shown results. And that's why they're fighting over it. So maybe we just need for these molecules that can be used to treat or prevent more importantly, diseases, maybe we need a new classification. Just an idea, I'm throwing it out there. I wish everybody well through the holiday season. I'll be posting more videos, but I know that this one's probably going to catch a lot of viewers. Good David, bad David. The one I'm hoping for is human David. That's the one I want to see win out. I want to see David come out and make an announcement and be the voice of reason through all of this crisis and confusion and say, look, I'm pro NR, I'm pro NMN, as he said in the past. And if you want to take NAD infusions, good, take them. Everyone should have that choice. He's made these kinds of comments before, and that's the David I'm looking for. Not the angel David, not the demonized David. I'm looking for human David to come back and make an appearance and speak be a voice of reason, right? David is a thought leader, and right now we need somebody to be a voice of reason, a thought leader with a voice of reason that resonates with the public. And we could all get behind that, or most of us could, I'm sure. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Comment, subscribe, stick around. See you soon.